Hello everybody and welcome to the fourth practical Flask with Python tutorial video. In this video we're going to continue working on our homepage. So before we get too much further, I just want to talk a little bit about my methodology for making a website. So a lot of times, at least in the past, to make a website you needed a web developer and a web designer and sometimes a graphics designer, but a lot of times graphics and web design kind of went right together. So you have to consider that that there used to be like two different people, right? The designer would hand stuff to the developer, and the developer would actually make the design happen, in the code. If you're coding a website yourself, you'll find that you're actually, it's just you, right? And so you have to kind of think, what kind of order are you going to do things in? For me, I generally like to do it the same way that, if you think about it, in the past too, the web designer first designed what they wanted it to look like, you approved it, then you would give it to the web developer. And if you were the web developer, that was the order you did it, and this is no different. So we're using Bootstrap to do a lot of the web designer's tasks, but in the end, we're still the web designer. So we kind of have to have it in our head how we want things to work first, and then maybe put them down on a website, make sure it works, and then after that, we build the logic. So the way I tend to do things is first I'll just hard code it right into the HTML, and if I'm happy with it, then I'll begin to use variables and logic, and I can't even write a variable here. There we go. Variables and logic and dynamic content. I'll add that. I'll go to the init.py file or whatever py is driving it, and then I'll make my changes, pass through the logic and all of that. So that's my methodology for building a website. So with pythonprogramming.net, first of all, the homepage is really important. The homepage is like the most important place of your website. That is the landing page for most people. So most people that's the first page they see of your website, and more importantly, that's where people make the decision to stay or leave. And so you want them to make the decision to stay. Generally, about 50% is the tipping point for a good website. So if more than 50% of your visitors stick around, that's good. If less than 50% of your visitors stick around, that's kind of heading to bad. I believe the world average of website bounce rate is like 60%, and by bounce rate I mean that's the amount of people that visit a website and get out, right? And leave on the same page they visited. And so bounce rate is a rate of how many people came to the website and left. So 60% means 60% of your viewers viewed the page and were like, nah, I don't really like this website, and they got out. So it's definitely a discouraging number when you see it, but that's pretty common. Anyway, that's my methodology. The homepage is important. Let's do it. So to get started, the first thing you'll want to do is you'll want to acquaint yourself with Bootstrap. So let's zoom out here. We're zoomed way in like that. We already have Bootstrap, but the Bootstrap website, like I've been trying to kind of show you guys, is how a real developer actually develops is not really in their head that they know everything. It's not true. People ask me all the time, like, how do you remember all this stuff? I don't. I really don't. I come to my own website a lot, and I look at the codes that I need. I don't really visit basics anymore, but if I want to know how to make a GUI, I'll revisit my GUI stuff. I want to make Flask. I don't remember all those commands to run or anything, or how to set up Flask. I just go back to my code that I've already written. And every developer I know, that's the path that they usually take. Obviously, I do know a lot of stuff by memory. I can type a lot of stuff by memory, and I can make a program by memory. But generally, the quickest way for me to develop is to visit my own previous code and do it that way. And then whenever people use, say, a lot of developers use JavaScript. I know very few developers that actually know JavaScript. They know how to read it and understand what's happening, but they don't actually write their own JavaScript. I don't know anybody actually that writes their own JavaScript. You just copy, paste, manipulate, kind of. That's it. So anyway, moving along, that's kind of the whole point of Get Bootstrap, is you copy, paste, and manipulate, and that's why a lot of people like it. Luckily, I can at least explain to you what's happening and all of that, but I would never handwrite my own Bootstrap, and I don't expect anyone else to, and any developer who suggests that you do handwrite Bootstrap is just lying to you. That's not how people do it. So anyways, coming here, you'll want to kind of acquaint yourself. We're not going to do it in this video. I've already done it. I expect you do this on your own time. But get started we've already done, but just I'm holding control, clicking CSS, components, JavaScript. You can click on customize too, but we're not going to really get too far into that. I don't know, Bootstrap loads really slow sometimes. I'd love to know who they're, I think they use like, you know, a content delivery service, CDN, content delivery network, yeah. And for whatever reason, it takes forever sometimes. I'm trying to film a video here, Bootstrap. Let's do it. Okay, so CSS, kind of look at all this stuff. These are basically all the things that are contained within Bootstrap. They've already written CSS for you to do. So the doc type, we needed that. We already used that. Mobile stuff, mobile first. That's this viewport stuff that we wrote already, and I kind of already explained that. You can do this, and that will disable zooming in. I don't know why you'd really want to do that, but you can. Anyway, moving on. Here's just some examples of stacking some content. I'm trying to find something more interesting. It's more like, you know, organization on your website, but you can play with that. We're not really going to touch much of that. This is typography, stuff that you should already know what H1 and H2 and all that. These are alignment classes. Basically all the stuff that's contained within Bootstrap. This gets a little more interesting with their tables. So this, normally when you make a table, it's just like a grid that has no lines. You have to, you know, add your own style. Bootstrap's already done it. Table, 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 hover table. Whoa. More stuff here. Blah 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 blah. Forms. Normally forms look ugly as hell. These forms look nice. Pretty blue outline. Very nice. Continue scrolling. Just a bunch of stuff, right? It's a huge page. Buttons, this kind of stuff, we'll be using that. And actually this should look pretty familiar to you if you're used to my website. This stuff here, basically it's all Bootstrap. Everything is Bootstrap. These progress bars, Bootstrap. The buttons, Bootstrap. Even this little logo looking thing, Bootstrap. Bootstrap, Bootstrap, everything, Bootstrap. These tabs, you guessed it, Bootstrap. Okay, it's all Bootstrap. Anyway, so look through CSS, see what's available to you so you can kind of know how to piece it together. Components, same thing. These are where those little symbols came from. They're glyph icons. Coming down, just a ton of components, drop-down menus, stuff like that. And these are, everything below it is all the sample code for everything, like buttons, drop-downs, menus, everything. Just has sample code, so you just copy, paste. Then your JavaScript for fancy stuff, like for example, this is some JavaScript here where we click on this button and it scrolls us down. JavaScript. Did I write it? No. I copy and pasted it. Okay. So anyways, coming back over here, let's work on our tutorial. So just looking at our website, you kind of know, okay, well we want a logo here, a button, some more stuff here, a video embedded here, and maybe a button down here. I think I'm going to skip the Python editor. This is an editor written in Python, which is a replacement for JavaScript. So it's a Python editor. It runs Python code, some stuff it doesn't run, so you can't hack my website by using this. It's pretty cool. You can check out their websites. There's a link to it down here for writing JavaScript in Python. Maybe soon I'll have a tutorial on Python. Maybe it'll make me write my own JavaScript once and for all. Although it wouldn't really be JavaScript, but my replacement for it. Anyways, back to our tutorial here, and this is what we were going to start with anyways. So how do we do it? And so first, we know we want to make a button. We don't know how to make a button, but we want to. We need this logo. How do we get this logo? Well, we can just right-click it, copy image URL. Let's visit that image. Here it is. Excuse the crack. Anyway, let's click and drag that one. We'll come over to here. Flask app. Whoops. Go into Flask app. Static. We don't have an images directory yet, so let's go ahead and make that new. We'll call it images, and I'm going to click and drag that image into images. So again, if you need any of these image logos or whatever, feel free to use your own logo as well. That's totally fine. You can change all this stuff if you want, but if you need the logo, here it is, pythonprogram.net/static images main logo.png. All the stuff should be available to you because you can just go to the website. So we've got that, and now let's go ahead and get started. So in my example, I was showing you paragraph tags. We wrote the paragraph tags actually under the HTML tag. Don't really want to do that. So generally what I do is make a ton of space, or at least a lot of space, and just kind of forget about the HTML tag. You don't want to put anything below it, so just do that. So now we're ready to build the header of our website, and this is the traditional idea of a header. The header is generally what houses your navbar and your logins and stuff like that, and in the past you had a header file, and you would include the header file at the top. Then you had a footer file, and you would include the footer file at the bottom, and it made it really easy for whenever you made a new page, you didn't have to recode the header, because then, God forbid, you decide to change your navbar. Oh my gosh, now you got to go through all those HTML files. So anyway, nowadays things are a little different if you use this, at least this paradigm that we're using here. So first, we want to have this navbar. So we can come here, and it would be in components. Let's just Control F for navbar. So let's see, here's our default navbar. We'll come down here and we can see, okay, we've got this navbar. Basically we could take like all of this code, for example, but let's just take the entire thing, the entire source code that they've given us, like this. And actually we want the brand image. We'll take this entire code though, just to show you. So we'll copy that navbar code, paste, save. We edited HTML. Do we have to restart Apache? No. Refresh, and here we have a navbar. Now the dropdown, the dropdown won't work because we haven't included the JavaScript, but that's okay. We'll talk about that later. But anyway, the links work. We can hover and stuff, and so the navbar, works. We could type stuff here. We could hit submit. It doesn't link to anything, but we could do it if we wanted. And again, we didn't have to like do any of the CSS for this. We just copy and pasted. So anyway, we're going to close this though, and we're going to look for, let's go over here, let me do let's see, navbar header, and we are looking for navbar brand. Let me look for navbar brand. So we basically want like this code here, but what I'm going to do, I think we'll actually end up typing our own pretty much, but we can take the navbar, let's see, this right here. Let's just take this all the way to this. I think we can get away with that. I think that's a full div. To check your tags in Notepad++, you can highlight and write. So everything has been closed off. You just always want to make sure everything closes off. So again, like button, here's the initial button, here's the closing off of the button. Okay, so you just want to make sure that that's occurring, and it is for us. So we can save that. Let's come over here, refresh, and now we just have the brand here. And we don't need this toggle navigation stuff, so you can get rid of that if you wanted. But actually, we're not even going to use the button. So I'm just going to do this. This is our navbar header. Delete the button stuff. And then you have a class navbar brand. And the href we'll say is basically like your home, so you just put a slash there. We don't really need any text or anything like that within it. But then we are going to add an image. So A is the way of creating a link, basically. So anything we put in here, if you click on that, it will link to something. And then within here, we're going to have an image. And first we'll just do the source to the image. And the source will be using URL 4 like we had before. So let's just copy that, paste. And this time that was located in static, but it was located within static, it was located images slash, in the images main logo.png. So that's our image and our source. So hopefully, I think that's a fine thing. So we should be able to refresh that and see okay, so sure enough, there's our image. It's obviously way too big. So we need to size the image. How do we do that? Well, we use another attribute called style. And now we add some style to this bad boy. So we're going to say the max width is going to be 120px for pixels. And then to give it a little padding, as it's called, we use margin-top, and that will be -7 pixels actually. And that should be everything we need. Let's save and run. Good. Okay, so that looks pretty similar to this one. Obviously, it's slightly different, but that's okay. Max, it's probably the max width that's different on the other one. Anyway, well, we'll worry about that later. Anyway, that's our header. Now, let's say we want to add the Start Learning button. How would we do that? Well, first we want to have. Let's go over here, and let's do nav-pills now. And we can see here that these are like little pills that are added to our navigation bar. So we can take that, and it's still going to be. Actually, well, we'll keep it. I'm trying to think if I want to. I think actually the way I've done it is it's still within the header, but not within those. So let me tab this over to keep our standards good. Fix our spacing issue. We'll come down, and then we'll take this code here, copy that, paste, and then we'll fix the indentation. By the way, I guess I didn't really cover, but if you highlight a big block of text and you hit tab, that moves it over. And if you want to get it back over, shift tab. So we can save that. We'll come back over here, refresh, and we can see there is at least a nav bar. It's a little too high there. We'll need to fix that, but we can. And so now we basically want all this stuff, but we don't really need any of this stuff here. And in fact, we don't even need it to be a list item at all. But we'll leave it there just to be. We might end up adding pills later, so that's why I had it there. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it because that's what I've done on the main website as well. But anyway, now we want to make a button. So how do we make a button? Let's go back over to Components, Control F, and I'm sure we can find something for buttons. Sure enough, here are some button code. So let's highlight, copy, paste. Let's fix the, oh dear Lord. It's so hard for me to see it too. Let's make this full screen in fact for now. Okay, so this is our button code. It's within this unordered list here. So there it is. And I guess I'm not going to make it full screen, but we'll save that. Let's come back to our file here, refresh, and we see right now the button is just this, I don't know, icon of some sort of bars, but that's okay. It is a button. Off to a good start. So in Bootstrap, you have some words that mean the same thing across the board. So default is generally like this. There's nothing in it. It's no color. And then you've got things like, well, for sure primary is like a dark blue. And you've got like info, warn, danger, and all this other stuff. And they apply to different colors. But generally you've got blue, green, yellow, and red. And so you can look all of those up by always coming here. So here you've got red and it's danger, but then you also have some that's like, I think it's called warning for like a red color. I'm trying to find one they're solid. Yeah, here. So here's some solid blue, and well, it's active links. I'm trying to find colored. I think I had just seen some. Here we go. Right. So you've got primary for blue. Green is success. Info, this like cyanish color. Warning, danger. Okay, so you can use these different colors. So we'll use BTN for button. BTN-primary is the other attribute that it's going to have. So now that should be blue. Sure enough, it is. But at the same time, we could also say, okay, instead of primary, it's success. Save that. Come over here. Now it's a green button, but we're going to make it primary anyway. Primary. Save that. And now we have a button. The button doesn't do anything, and it also has a logo that we're not interested in. So we're actually interested, we want this button to look like this. Start learning. Okay, so first of all, let's make the button actually say something. So this has a span on it, and span is for the glyph icon, and then you come over here, and we can add start learning. Save that. And then let's say we want a different glyph icon. So we'll come over here. Components is where the glyph icons are. Go to the very, very top. And the wording for it was actually off, I think, but it looks like the power symbol, so I liked it. So anyway, we'll copy that, come over here, and whoops, I don't know what that moved. Doesn't look like it did anything serious, but okay, yeah. So glyph icon, highlight that, whoops, highlight all of that, paste, good, primary, good. It doesn't link to anything yet, but I'll show you that in just a moment. Save that, refresh. Now we have a Start Learning button. Next, let's make the button the right size. So we're going to use the style. We'll add, I don't think it already has style. It does not. So we'll add a style equals, and then in quotes, we're going to add a bunch of parameters here. The first style is going to be margin dash top. We'll do 5px semicolon space margin dash bottom will be, so margin dash bottom colon, and we're going to make this 5px semicolon height colon 44px semicolon, and then finally margin dash right 15, whoops, don't forget your colon, 15px. And that's it for the button. And then what we'll do to actually make this button do something is we encase the entire button in these A tags, right, for links. So A, href, equals, and this button for us heads to dashboard, and then put the A over here, save, come over here, let's refresh. There's our Start Learning button. We'll click on it. It's going to return a 404, but we'll know it works. Sure enough, it sends us to /dashboard, no problem, and that's that. Okay, so I'm going to cut off the tutorial here. If you guys are really familiar with HTML and Bootstrap, I apologize, but I did definitely want to cover how we're doing a lot of stuff. Anybody who this is all foreign to would be, I think, really confused. I didn't want to just gloss over it. We still have a lot of kind of basic HTML and CSS to cover, but once we're kind of done with this main page, we'll be much more heavily in Flask and all that. But I did want this tutorial to be a pretty holistic how to create a website tutorial, so I apologize if it's kind of moving slow for some of you guys, but I think it's pretty necessary. So anyways, that's it up to this point. Hopefully you guys are enjoying. If you do have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support and subscriptions. And until next time.